Elisabeth Moss has managed to live a fairly quiet life despite her success, though privacy is hard to come by in Hollywood. Because she keeps to herself, there's a lot about the Mad Men and Handmaid's Tale actress that fans might not know. Here's the untold truth of Elisabeth Moss. While most people's perception of Elisabeth Moss tends to have a lot to do with her career, there's a lot more to her than just that. In fact, when Moss was growing up, her childhood was pretty relaxed. She lived with her parents in what she said used to be a hippie enclave in Los Angeles. In fact, Moss's childhood definitely appeared to be pretty chill. After all, who wouldn't want to have hippie musicians for parents while in LA? Moss added, "We grew up with musicians coming over, jamming, we had tons of instruments. So holidays were always like 50 people would come over and there would be a jam session with everyone playing jazz." Truly, Moss's childhood sounds like a dream, and with musically inclined parents, it's no wonder she was interested in Hollywood. Moss got her start in the entertainment industry at a fairly young age, but fortunately, that didn't mean her childhood was anything short of idyllic. Elisabeth Moss had an interesting schooling experience. Likely because Moss's parents were so busy as musicians, the actress wasn't able to complete traditional schooling. Moss's mom was a harmonica player in a blues band, and her dad was a music manager who often was on tour with clients. Moss told The Guardian, "My earliest memories are at the Blue Note here in New York, or backstage at different theaters or different clubs, dressing rooms." So Moss was homeschooled. Moss has been a go-getter from an early age, and she graduated from high school 2 years early in 1999 at the age of 16. With such a fascinating background, it's no wonder that Moss grew up to be the talented actor that she is, playing complex and wonderful characters. Elisabeth Moss's first acting role was in 1990, when she was just a little 8-year-old girl in a TV movie called Bar Girls. She followed that up with notable roles as a young girl, and then when she was a teenager, she landed the role of a lifetime in The West Wing. In fact, Moss credits her career for helping her not to have an angsty teenage rebellion because she was just too busy. She told the Daily Beast, "I didn't really have a rebellious period because I moved to New York when I was 18, and I started West Wing when I was 17. It's no secret that Elisabeth Moss is a Scientologist. It's really one of the most well-known facts about the actress. The religion is controversial, as members of the Church of Scientology go through a so-called auditing process, which involves divulging a lot of personal information, according to CNN. While many celebrities become Scientologists later in life, Moss grew up in Scientology, as reported by Elle Australia. Her religion is often the subject of articles and think pieces, as many wonder how the actor can be part of such a controversial religion, while also advocating for women's rights and other progressive values. However, one source told The Sun, "Elisabeth is a devout member who was born into this religion and would never do anything to rock the boat. She's a role model within the church." Obviously, Elisabeth Moss is a talented actor, but she also had a lot more going for her when she was younger. Along with acting, Moss loved to dance. She told The Guardian, "I loved ballet. I was a bunhead for 10 years. But Moss had to make the choice between acting or dancing. She told the Daily Beast, "I stopped dancing when I was 15 or 16. You had to go either way at that point, and if I went with ballet, I knew I wouldn't be able to act, and if I acted, I could still possibly dance, so I went with the acting." Elisabeth Moss scored her breakout role when she starred as Peggy Olson on the period drama Mad Men. The role practically made Moss's career, and the character Peggy was perfect for the actress. In an interview with Vogue, Moss explained that she really related to Peggy. She said, "I just felt like I knew that girl. I felt like I could see Peggy. She was the unwitting feminist, the one that wasn't burning bras or marching, who didn't know the phrase glass ceiling but was banging her head up against it." While the show might have taken place in the 1960s, Moss's Peggy still had relatable struggles that the women of modern times could understand. Mad Men set off Moss's career and launched her name in a big way, and Moss played Peggy in a way that no one else could have.
I'm the person you need to impress right now.
You looked at my book. What more can I say?
While many people associate Elisabeth Moss with being fairly private, she did have quite the public marriage back in 2009, when she married Portlandia star and comedian Fred Armisen. The relationship was short-lived, as they separated less than a year after tying the knot, and even though their romance was pretty complicated, Moss doesn't seem to hold any ill will towards her ex nowadays. In her interview with The Guardian, Moss also explained that the marriage was actually a great learning experience. She said, "God, I learned so much that I am still sifting through it. I was young. I was 27, and certainly I am still young, but now looking back 6 years ago, it seems young. I didn't know everything about what I wanted and what I was looking for." Though it couldn't have been easy for Moss to go through such a public breakup, she came out the other end stronger and more self-assured. While acting and dancing are both important to Elisabeth Moss and have each played a significant role in her life, she wouldn't be who she is today without the music she listened to as a child. She told Vogue, "My upbringing was not full of the cool music that everyone else at school was listening to, but classical and blues and jazz. It was only more recently that I could identify a Nirvana song, but I could easily name any Gershwin tune from the first few bars." Classical music was a huge part of her childhood, and Moss noted that she listened to the likes of Ella Fitzgerald when she was 12. Though Elisabeth Moss may be super successful and, of course, gives interviews every now and then, she's still a very private person. After her highly publicized marriage to Fred Armisen, she's chosen to keep her personal life to herself. Moss explained to the Daily Beast why she preferred to keep some things on the down low. She said, "I choose to express myself in my work and my art. I don't choose to express myself about it in interviews. I don't choose to talk about not just religion, but my personal life, who I'm dating, and that kind of thing." Celebrities may feel they almost have some kind of obligation to share their lives with their fans, but Moss has found a way to be open about some things while keeping other aspects of her life to herself. Scientology has been such a huge part of Moss's identity that there isn't really an interview with Moss that doesn't at least touch on her religion.
Do you feel like you have to explain at all your faith to people, or is that just something you'd rather just put to the side and keep private?
In an interview with the Daily Beast, Moss explained that her faith is very personal to her and that she can only vouch for how the religion has worked for her. She said, "The things that I believe in, I can only speak to my personal experience and my personal beliefs." Moss explained that she looks to her church for guidance on social issues. She said, "One of the most important things I take from my church is the idea of personal freedom and our rights as human beings. And that includes the right to date a man or a woman. Personal freedom is a very important concept in my religion, and I translate that to sexual orientation." For Moss, Scientology isn't a controversial topic, it's just part of who she is. With Elisabeth Moss's roles in Mad Men and The Handmaid's Tale, it's clear that she enjoys playing roles that are politically poignant. In an interview with the Daily Beast in 2019, Moss described how it felt to film scenes for The Handmaid's Tale while in Washington, D.C. at the height of such political turmoil. She said, "When you're kneeling on the steps in front of the Lincoln Memorial, you're looking at where MLK gave his I Have a Dream speech. You're in the outfit of complete lack of freedom, and your president is a few blocks away arguing about putting up a wall. You can't help but feel that you have the responsibility to tell this story. And I feel honored to be able to express what I think, what I feel, and what a lot of other people feel through what I love doing." Just like the novel by Margaret Atwood on which the show is based, The Handmaid's Tale takes place in a dystopian future where many women lose their freedom and become handmaids. Their only job is to get pregnant and deliver a healthy baby, and they have absolutely no say in what happens to them. So while Elisabeth Moss hasn't experienced what it's like to be a submissive baby-making machine in real life, she still feels connected to her character on the show, June Osborne, otherwise known as Offred.
You're not gonna be in any trouble, are you?
No, sir.
In an interview with Vogue, Moss explained why she feels such a kinship to June. She said, "June is a heroine like you are and I am and my mom is. She's a mother, she's a wife, she's a woman, she's human." I think that's really interesting. The question of, how would you act in her position? What would you do? What kind of hero would you become? Elisabeth Moss is known for playing big, intense roles, and is also known for speaking out on social and political issues, but that doesn't mean she's always so serious in real life. In fact, in an interview with Vogue, Moss explained that she's a lot more relaxed than fans might assume. She said, People meet me and they're thrown because they expect me to be more serious, intense. I'm just so not. Additionally, Moss explained that because she films scenes that are difficult on such a regular basis, she likes to unwind with reality TV, specifically the Real Housewives franchise. It was difficult maintaining that level of tension and drama and hyperness and speed. I think that's why I love my reality TV and my comedies. Throughout her impressive career, Elisabeth Moss has continued to act her heart out and has starred in some major roles. One particular part in 2020 that really spoke to her.
Hangs a man. It's about that girl. The missing one.
In an interview with Deadline, Moss explained that her role as the titular character in Shirley, based on the life of horror writer Shirley Jackson, was a really great experience. And more than that, she actually related to the dark character. She said, "I loved how honest she was sometimes. She expected the people around her to be smart and expected people around her to be able to keep up with her." And while Moss admired the female anti-hero, she also clarified, "I think that in my life I'm probably a little kinder and less abrasive." As you might have guessed by now, Elisabeth Moss is probably best known as the leading character in Hulu's adaptation of Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. The dystopian show has been a huge success. Moss, however, doesn't just act on the series. During season 4, she made her directorial debut. Originally, Moss explained that she was supposed to direct one episode of the series before production shut down due to the coronavirus pandemic, but then she wound up directing 3 episodes when shooting restarted. Moss explained during an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
So all of a sudden, I was like the sort of director on hand.
Making your directorial debut on a show as popular and intense as The Handmaid's Tale is no small feat. So we imagine Moss was excited to direct those episodes.
By the end, we were joking that I was just going to be this like journeyman director now, like off to do my 9th, episode of Law and Order.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more list videos about your favorite celebrities are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.